Welcome to the Level 1 Lounge, where we give our uneducated takes on anything and everything gaming. And hopefully, you guys had yourself a very, very happy new year. I know it's been a couple of weeks, but we are back, and this is our first podcast of 2025. So, gentlemen, how are we doing?
Doing pretty
Great.
good. How about you?
Oh, not too bad at all. So, I, of course, am Writer Pride 639. I'll be hosting tonight's episode. And with me tonight are my two usual co hosts. We have Agent Maverick 86 from Twitch. And we have YouTuber, Twitch streamer, and author Irish Bandit Rob.
Just call me Jack of all trades.
Yeah, exactly. We'll do a little bit of everything. You've been on TikTok before too, so I mean, we could throw that on there.
You could.
Yeah, exactly. So, gentlemen, we got some news. But first, before we get into the news, though, as always, we do have our one burning question before we start tonight's episode. And tonight's opening question is: what's your favorite video game quote? Could be a hero, could be a villain, could be a mix of both. Agent Maverick, let's start with you. What was your favorite video game quote?
You know, I think I brought this question up, but it was another one that I was like, damn, I don't actually have an answer. So I kind of started going through some of my favorite series and try to figure one out. And I think this one's actually kind of fitting considering we're getting yet another one of these games in the franchise here next month on February 14th. Which is there's one quote from Assassin's Creed, and this was the one. This one, by the way, it was from Assassin's Creed Revelations. The game wasn't that great. It was probably one of the weakest ones in the franchises, but the character is still a beloved one of them all, basically in that series, which is from Ezio. And if anyone is familiar, of course, with the franchise, like I know a lot of people are, the line for the assassins is "Nothing is true, everything is permitted." And there was a character that was asking Ezio what that actually meant. And what he said was to say, and this is the line, to say nothing is true is to realize that the foundations of society are fragile and that we must be shepherds of our own civilization. To say that everything is permitted is to understand that we are the architects of our actions and that we must live with these consequences, whether glorious or tragic. I love that line. And it kind of gives a little bit more insight on the actual meaning, even though it's more philosophical, basically. But it's one that I've always enjoyed, and it's one of that line in that part is one of the reasons why I went back to that game as often as I did.
Seems like a long-winded quote just to say go stab that guy in the back.
You would think, but there's meaning behind it. Of the assassins are trying to, in that series, they're trying to protect freedom, right, and free will, and they're safeguards for that. So they have to realize that there's consequences for every person that they kill, and it's not just I'm going to go stab this person. They actually have to be thoughtful and mindful of the changes that are behind their decisions to end someone's life in that series, right? So obviously fictional story, but there's a lot of non-fiction characters that are in this series, and that's one of the reasons why I love it. And it just makes you think as that line. Just kind of add depth to that series, but I still do think it's a little overkill. Do I still want to play Shadows? Yes. Am I going to buy every Assassin's Creed game that comes out?
Yes.
Yes. But that line still sticks with me.
Oh, that's a pretty good one. Irish Better Rob, let's go over to you. What was your favorite video game quote?
Oh, my favorite video game quote. There's been so many good ones over the years. I really had to rack my brain for this one, but I came up with two. They're from the same character. You can probably guess who it is. From two different video games. I'm going to go with the funny answer first, and then I'm going to go with the serious answer second. So my first favorite quote is from chapter 2, I think it is, of Rebirth, when they're all sitting around talking about the Nibelheim incident, and They're talking about hearing about Sephiroth dying 5 years ago, and Barrett has this whole thing. Only dumbasses believe that crap.
Yeah.
Aerith puts her hand up. Question: does that make me a dumbass? That line slayed me the first time I heard it. It perfectly encapsulated her character. But my favorite line of Aerith's is one that I actually have put over my desk. It was from Remake, the resolution scene between her and Cloud when she said, "Every minute, every moment matters." That line stuck with me to the point where I had Brianna White, the voice actress behind Aerith, sign that on an 8x10 for me. And now I have that up over my computer, and it's just something I look at and remind myself, it's true. Every minute, every moment does matter.
Yeah, whether it be video games or real life. No, that absolutely is 100% true. So, yeah, very good line. As for me, I had a hard time kind of racking my brain on this one too. I feel like most of pretty much any line that I can think of, save for one, basically comes from villains from video games. The one that didn't, I was thinking of like Borderlands with the Torque DLC. Where Patricia Tannis is trying to explain, the premise of the whole vault system to Torg, and Torg is like, "That sentence had too many syllables. Apologize." That was one of his great lines. Another one
You've
that came
used
from a
that
villain.
line in our chats.
Yeah,
You
I
have
know.
used that line.
Yep, he has.
That's where that line comes from. It was from Torg. If you've never played that DLC before, go play it. It's absolutely hilarious, just for listening to all of Torg's one-liners that he says throughout that entire DLC. Another one that I was thinking of actually came from Titanfall 2, and it was from one of the antagonists. And he doesn't really say it in the game, like in the story, but he says it kind of as a voice line when you select his character in the multiplayer. And his line basically just says, "I do not require your understanding, only your compliance." And it's such a badass line. I mean, it's very dictatorial, if that's the word I'm looking for it, but or authoritarian, I guess would be another way to put it. Yeah. But yeah, I'd say probably my favorite line came out of Star Wars: The Old Republic, during the Knights of the Fallen Empire expansion. There was a scene where two of the antagonists, so basically the main antagonist and the antagonist's sister. So we have the antagonist named Arkin and his sister Valen. They're basically trying to find out where your character is in the galaxy because they're trying to hunt you down. And there was one point where Valen and Arkin are having a discussion, and Valen basically deadpan looks him straight in the eye and going, "Look, I just had to kill 3 of my personal guard just to make sure that they weren't lying. And then I killed 3 more because I don't like odd numbers." And it
That's
just
raw.
basically, it basically just, it really, really adds an element to her character on how crazy she is and what she will do to get a hold of your character to kill you, basically. Like, she is absolutely nuts. It's wild, but that one there is probably my favorite line from any video game that I've ever played. So,
I mean, if you're gonna kill 3 more to make it even, why didn't you just kill 1 more? Oh, okay. Yeah, I get it.
yeah, you see where it's going. Yeah. So yeah, that's, like I said, it adds an element to her character that basically shows you how much of a wild card she really is. But with that, now that we've gotten our opening question out of the way, it's time to get in our first bit of news for the 2025 years. So our very first article is going to talk about Black Myth Wukong on Xbox, which is still happening, but Game Science is starting to make excuses. This is based on a new Weibo message from Black Myth Wukong director Feng Yi, lamenting that the Xbox Series S's limited shared memory was impossible to get the game optimized for without several years of optimization experience. And that has set off this entire conversation again, so we're just going to go through the whole timeline here. So this contradicts Microsoft going out of its way to say that it's not a hardware issue unless some bizarre backbending is taking place along the lines of, well, it's possible they just don't know how to do it. Excuse me. That would not exactly align with the idea that Microsoft is doing everything they can to make this happen, which is what they're claiming. However, no one, whether that be Game Science or Sony, has commented one way or another about an exclusivity deal. This new statement by Game Science, while citing the Series S, still does not comment on any deal or lack thereof outside of that. Microsoft has not openly declared that there is a deal that's left them out, but made sure that its public statements heavily point in that direction and away from potential hardware problems. If an exclusivity deal did exist, as we were told, and expired or is about to expire, these technical issues still remain. So I know we've definitely covered this particular topic a couple of times on the pod, where we started off with one particular issue, then we shifted to a whole completely different issue, and now we're kind of back into, okay, so what's the problem again? So let's start with Maverick. Let's start with you, because you kind of have a little bit more of a finger on the pulse on this one.
So when it comes to Black Myth Wukong, there's a lot behind the actual assets. It's one of the prettiest games I've ever played. I believe that the Series S may have been hindering the development process for the Series X, or for it coming onto Xbox. If there was an exclusive deal, Sony would have come out and say, yeah, we have an exclusive on it. That's not a huge problem. That's not a huge deal. There's still exclusive games out there. They would have gotten ahead of it and say, yeah, play it on our platform, and that would have been the end of it. But in this case, Microsoft is trying to. It's kind of twofold. Microsoft's trying to say the Series S isn't the problem, but the game developers are also saying, like, it is a problem, and there is no exclusivity deal. Microsoft is trying to make Sony look bad, and Xbox's Series S, they don't want that to look bad either. So I get both aspects, but I believe that if there was an exclusive deal, Sony would have gotten ahead of it. And if it would have already come out if there was not an exclusivity cause and there wasn't an issue, right? Like, that's the one thing. Like, they came out and said, like, there is no exclusivity on this. It's going to be a hardware issue. And I said it before. First of all, I love my Series X. I love my Xbox. It's fantastic. And I know Monster keeps making the joke that I should be banned because I never play it. But actually, I do enjoy playing it. I have played on my Xbox more this year so far than on my PlayStation. But the Series S has always been a problem. It's always been a problem. And I said, as soon as I saw the specs, I said, this is going to hold Xbox back a lot. It's going to hold back a lot of development for this generation. And
this is the point. This is the proof.
Even Baldur's Gate. Remember, Baldur's Gate 3 was delayed on Xbox because Baldur's Gate couldn't be on the Series S. And they had to make decisions, like not have couch co-op, in order for Baldur's Gate 3 to work on the Series S. You can't do couch co-op on the Series S. You need a Series X for that.
Yeah.
I also understand that it's a budget system, and the point of that system was to give people access to next gen consoles that couldn't afford the $700 price point. There needs to be something done in regards to the price. Prices have gone up exponentially. They're massive.
Mm-hmm.
This was an answer. It's a great answer, but you're going to have problems like this. And unfortunately, that's the way that things are. It's going to hold things back. Sorry, I don't believe that there's an exclusivity clause.
No, it doesn't sound like there is. It's like we've been saying, it's more of a tech issue at this point. So
absolutely,
they gotta work past that, or just not bring it out on the Series S.
Well, and that's the thing.
On Series X.
If you look at the stats and the specs for even the Series X versus the PlayStation 5, the standard PlayStation 5, the Slim, the hardware is superior with the Series X. And I will go on record to say that. It is a much better built machine. The difference for me with Sony and Xbox is the games. That's what sells consoles. Series S, again, great option, but you got to come up with something for this system. And they've got to have some kind of like a better cloud streaming service, basically. That's my 2 cents. But how do you do that? How do you optimize it? I'm not a developer.
Exactly.
I have no idea I'd have no idea how you'd implement that. But I do know that Microsoft needs to reevaluate and not release a lower generation console along with their next gen when that does come out.
Yeah.
And it's getting to the point where Microsoft is going, what do we do? How do we handle this? They might be rolling out a new Xbox as early as next year.
Yeah. And I think that might be the best way to handle it at this stage, because I mean, if they're running into consistent issues like this where games are having to be delayed or even not released at all because the Xbox Series S is holding development back because of those limitations, at this stage, if I'm the developers, I'd almost be saying, you know what, I'm just gonna wipe my hands of it, and we're just gonna wait for the next console. And if you release another half-baked console to give people a budget option, I mean, you're gonna run into those same issues all over again. Sure, the next gen console might be able to run these previous gen games at that stage, but then you're just basically going back right into the cycle of anything new that's coming out at that point is going to be held back. PlayStation's going to have their fun. PC players are going to have their fun. Xbox players are going to be sitting here going, well,
yeah, exactly.
Where's our fun?
Well, and here's the thing. I don't think that's okay. When it comes to games like this with third-party developers, a lot of them have come out and said that. But that being said, Microsoft has bought a lot of developers to make them first party.
Yeah, they have.
And here's the thing. I do overall. I realize that this is a topic that we've had a conversation of multiple times. But that being said, my expectations this year for gaming is, like, as I said, I've spent more time on the Xbox this year so far than I have on my PlayStation. That trend is going to continue this year because of Game Pass and the games that are coming on Game Pass, and the direction that a lot of this development and these first party games are going. I hate to say it, like I've always been a true fan of Sony. I'm excited for games like Ghost of Yotai, but a lot of the games that I'm excited for, they're all going on Game Pass this year. Like Doom, Dark Ages is going on there, Expedition 33, like South of Midnight. I could keep going. Microsoft is killing it when it comes to their games, and they are I am more excited for the Xbox games this year than I am with PlayStation. I hate to say it, but I have to give them credit with that. But with these third-party developers, I'm expecting to buy them on my PlayStation 5 now at this point, because we're all like, they're not going to become an Xbox. At least have another system to play it on. But I'm fortunate enough to do that. I'm fortunate enough to be able to afford those consoles. There are people out there that can't afford the Series X and go with the Series S, but they're still going to have access to all of those other games. It's still a good system. It's just holding things back a bit.
All right, so let's go ahead and move on to the next article here. So pivoting from Microsoft to Sony, Sony has announced that Helldivers and Horizon Zero Dawn are getting movies. So Sony has big Hollywood plans for its hit gaming franchises. The PS5 maker has announced a series of new movie spin-offs at CES 2025 this week, including movie versions of Helldivers 2 and Horizon Zero Dawn, as well as an anime spin-off of Ghost of Tsushima. Helldivers and Horizon are set to be hitting the big screen, but Ghost of Tsushima Legends adaptation will find its way onto the streaming platform Crunchyroll. So who's excited for a little super democracy on the big screen?
Wasn't there already a Helldivers movie? Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
they called
Starship
it
Troopers.
Starship Troopers. Yeah, that's it.
Except there's going to be a little less bug splatter and a little more liberty. I think is going to be. Yeah, exactly. I think it's going to be a little bit more slapstick than. I mean, like for anybody that's played Helldivers, you've seen the intro movie or the intro cinematic to it. So I have a feeling that's kind of more where the scripting is going to go. It's going to be a little funnier like that.
Yeah, I think so. A Helldivers movie could be very, very fun. Being a fan of both video games and movies, I'm digging it. I will be in line to. Well, I won't be in line, but I'll probably watch it somehow.
Yeah,
I'm here for it. I'm excited for this. I'm right there with you guys when it comes to Helldivers, but Horizon's such a beloved series in my mind though too that I'm excited for this too. Um, them doing it as a movie, I'm a little concerned about. Um, because of the twists and turns that game takes. It's going to be very, very tough to implement that within a 2 hour window. Uh,
Mhm.
3.5, maybe they'll be able to do it. I just don't know if they're going to push it out that long in order for it to work. Um, so I'm a little concerned about that one. But if it's done right, it could be a very, very good movie. But we can say that about any film, really, right?
Yeah.
But
Mhm.
um, it, I'm a little worried about that one. I do think Helldivers will be a lot more fun at the movies. Horizon, I think, does have the potential to be really good, but I think that they're going to need something like a Star Wars intro, basically, and cut right to Aloy, going through the proving. Just start right there. Um, but again, I'm not the writer, I'm not the director. Um, Ghost of Tsushima Legends will be one of the reasons why I do pick up Crunchyroll at least for a little while to check it out. I'm not huge in anime, um, but there's been even a couple series on there that I'm kind of like, you know what, this might be okay to watch, and I do want to start checking it out. I hear good things about shows like Solo Leveling, and I'm starting to kind of it's piquing my interest a little bit. So I'm excited for that. But we also have to keep in mind that this is not the only video game adaptations that they were talking about. Uh, from what I understand, God of War is still being done by Prime, and I'm interested on what direction that they're going for that as well. So we'll see what happens. With Horizon, though, I do think it would have been better as a series, not a movie. Um, and I'm glad that they're moving away from the prequel that they were wanting to do, because I think this is a much better storyline than doing a prequel.
Mhm.
But hopefully we get some news too about God of War soon. I think that will be good. But these other ones, I'm definitely excited for. Horizon, I'm a little worried about.
I mean, what about if they were like, what if Horizon were to come out, like, especially considering that it is a very, very big game and there's already 2 games out. Could we be looking at something where it's a multi-part movie? You have a part one, a part two, or a part one, part two, part three type of release stance or release cadence rather.
They would have to. Um, the the concern that I have, the game's been out long enough. Ryder, I know you've got no interest in playing it, so I'm just gonna give you guys spoilers, but I'll make it quick. Basically, Gaia recreated her creator to deal with a corruption, with a AI that was designed to kill everything when Gaia failed at recreating the planet, is what it basically was. So she's trying to fix everything, and keep life going. That that revelation, like, because the whole start of the game is Aloy going, "I want to find my mother. I need to know who my mother is," and then she finds out that she's doesn't have a mother, that she's a clone, and that revelation kind of has a really big impact, and then she realizes, oh, I have this other thing to do, but you don't find out that she is a clone until 3/4 of the way through the game, and she's gone on this journey, and there's a lot there that they could cut out. Like, they won't have to do things like the hunting grounds or anything like that. There's a lot of crap that they could cut out, but at the same time, that storyline, even without all of that, in the game, you're still looking at 15 to 20 hours without any of the side stuff. And if you want to tell it right, that stuff is going to be really hard to cut out. And that's why I'm concerned.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. Like I said, and just for that reason, you could see, maybe it might be best to break it up into a multi-movie series type of thing.
Yeah.
Sure. And if they did a second movie of it, I think that they could do Forbidden West a lot quicker. But again, they got to get through Zero Dawn first. But yeah, maybe the realization of, hey, I'm a clone and I need to deal with Hades, and the movie ends there and picks up, and you've got another 3 hour long movie. So then you have 6 hours. That would make a little bit more sense.
Yeah.
But again, we're going to have to see. I do think Sony needs to stop with the Horizon, trying to force Horizon down everyone's throats, because it's getting to be a little bit too much. I do have to say that aspect. I love the series, love the games, didn't touch Lego, but they got to give up on Aloy. I think they need to start leaning on characters like Astrobot.
Rob, any other thoughts on Helldivers or even Crunchyroll?
Nope.
No,
Said all I wanted to say.
I thought you were a bit of an anime fan.
I am a bit of an anime fan, but I don't know, I'm not been digging Crunchyroll after some recent stuff that came out, but won't
Fair.
get into that right now because we're not an anime podcast.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Fair.
All right, so let's go ahead and move on to the next article then, which we're going to talk about a little bit of Stellar Blade. So, Stellar Blade Studio Shift Up rewards employees with bonuses and PS5 Pro consoles. So, Shift Up, which is the studio behind the hit action-adventure title Stellar Blade, gifted all of its employees around $3,400 and a PS5 Pro as a year-end bonus. Released in April of 2024, Stellar Blade went on to be one of the most popular games of the year, earning positive reviews from players and critics alike. Despite early controversies surrounding the main character's clothing choices, Stellar Blade saw incredible success on the PS5 following its April 2024 release. Boasting an average score of 82 on OpenCritic and earning several awards and nominations, the game continues to be applauded for its fast-paced combat, art direction, and soundtrack. Nier creator Yoko Taro has even gone on record to call the Shift Up title better than Nier Automata, something Stellar Blade's director has vehemently denied. The hardworking staff behind the title were recently recognized for their efforts, taking home some impressive bonuses to celebrate the title's ongoing success. So, yeah, it's about time we start seeing news like this happening, and not in the complete reverse and going, "Hey, this title's a great success. All right, you guys are all laid off. Go home."
Yeah, I was just going to say that. It's great to hear something like this, that they're getting bonuses for their hard work, and they absolutely deserve it.
Absolutely. I loved that game so much. I had so much fun with it. And it was one that I had a hard time really putting down. Like, there are two games that gave me a gaming hangover last year, as Chewy calls it, which is you put down a game and you go, okay, that was really good. What am I going to play now? Like, what's going to meet that expectations and that excitement? I'm not going to have that for so long. Rebirth did that for me last year. Stellar Blade did that for me last year. And I got to say, Metaphor is going to give me that this year so far. But it was a fantastic game. I absolutely loved every second of it. And I've gone back into playing it over and over and over and over again. And they've added free content, even their DLC that they added in with a Nier Automata crossover. I haven't had a chance to play that yet, but I think I'm going to add that to my streaming list. Blown away by the development of that game. It's been so much fun.
Yeah, I don't really have much to say about it. Like I said, I only played the demo of it, so it just really wasn't a game for me. But it's really, really good to see that that there are companies out there that will reward their employees, for having these successes. So taking home bonuses like that and having a PS5 Pro for free is, I mean, that's unheard of. I don't think I recall any company ever in the past doing something like this for their development team.
We're always talking
No, I
about
don't think so
layoffs.
either.
We're never
Well,
talking
yeah, exactly.
about we're never talking about good news like this. This was one thing that I read. I was like, okay, this is really good. I'm very, very happy to hear that developers are hopefully starting to move this direction a little bit more, rather than us having these conversations of, oh, another studio is closing, oh, another 368 people were fired. Like,
While the CEOs and all the executives are all giving themselves big raises
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
in behind the scenes. Yeah. No, hopefully this sparks a few more conversations. We start seeing a trend of more developers
Mhm.
openly rewarding their developers and producers and artists and things like that for the hard work that they do for getting a lot of these games. Like whether that be, I mean, it's hard to say whether or not you'd see like a big developer do it. Like I don't know if if you hear things like Square Enix doing it or EA or anything like that. But
I don't know
like I
if
said, hope
Square ever do something like that because they always struggle to meet sales expectations.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Which is something that we're going to talk about here a little bit later too. But anyways, let's go ahead and jump over to the next article. We are now talking about Astrobot is now the most awarded platformer ever. So Astrobot has officially claimed the throne as the most awarded platforming game of all time. While Astrobot's Game of the Year victory at the Game Awards 2024 was more than enough to cement it as an exceptional title, Team Asobi platformer has another astonishing achievement under its belt. The grand total for awards for Astrobot has now reached 104 as of now. The original game that held this record was It Takes Two, and Astro beat it by an additional 16 awards. So again, Maverick, I know you have been ranting and raving about this particular game, so let's hear your thoughts on this one.
I want to make a disclaimer to everyone that, first of all, has been saying that Astrobot did not deserve that win. Go freaking play it. It is
I thought I was going to say something
phenomenal.
else.
Oh, hey, I said freaking.
You
I
did.
said freaking.
Yeah.
Trying to keep it PG-13 for sake. It's a great game. I can't talk this one up enough. Even my other half, when she's still playing it off and on, I have half an hour lunch breaks. I'll jump into it over my lunch breaks once in a while. It's so much fun. I am so happy that Team Sobi has been recognized this much for that game.
Mhm.
And there is quite a few levels that are very, very challenging. Like in each different galaxy that you go to collect your parts and your bots and stuff, they actually have these challenge levels, and they are the shapes on your controller. So the circle, the square, the triangle, and the cross. I'll say cross for the first time on that. And you have 4 levels for each 4 different shapes, and it is a lot of fun. And that last challenge map took me a good solid hour and a half to get through the platformer for that one. They are tough, but it is fun. And the little Easter eggs and stuff they have in that game, again, I loved that game so much. They absolutely deserved that win. And I'm not saying that just because I said that they were going to do it, but yeah, it was a fantastic platformer game. I think everyone who has a PlayStation 5 should pick it up, Ryder included.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll throw that one on the on the back burner of games that that I'm going to end up playing this year.
Your list
that's
is
a
getting
great
as long
idea.
as Maverick's.
That's what I'm trying to
No one's
avoid.
list can be as long as mine right now. That's
At least I finished the platinum on one of them, so I can actually give it back. But yeah, no, there's a lot of games on that list. I don't know if Astrobot will make it on there, but again, good on Astrobot. Obviously, like the
Yeah.
team put in a lot of hard work on this game. The fact that it has 104 awards and people say that it didn't deserve Game of the Year, yeah, you might want to rethink that answer. You don't get nominated, at least 104 times, let alone take 104 awards, without being a triple, or at least equivalent to a AAA game, basically.
Mhm.
just play it. Just play
Yeah.
it to anyone that's like, oh, it doesn't deserve. Just play it. Just try it.
I mean, I'll
Well,
say this. There are things that I love about being in the Final Fantasy VII community. One of them being I am organizing an online birthday party for Aerith on the 7th, and I'm getting a lot of responses about that. There's things that I just cannot stand about the community either, and this is one of them, being that the narrative now is that Sony paid for the Game of the Year award at the Game Awards this year for Astrobot. No, Astrobot was just that good of a game that it got, like, not taking anything away from Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, but Astrobot was just that good of a game. I haven't played myself, but I've seen people play it, and yeah, it looks amazing. So
Yeah,
yeah, it
absolutely.
absolutely deserved to win Game of the Year.
And just because one game wins Game of the Year doesn't make all of the other games that were on the nomination list
Exactly.
bad games. They're
Exactly.
great on their own. They just didn't meet the expectations of these people in the panels for
Right.
Game of the Year in this case, right? So that's what my argument is. Just because you don't agree with it doesn't mean that's the end of the world and your game's terrible. Like
Yeah.
Exactly.
I was mad that Overwatch won that one year. I was pissed with that.
I wasn't.
But again, what am I going to do? I'm going to piss and moan and not do a goddamn thing because nothing's going to happen anyways.
Well, not
See,
to
I
mention that it's not to mention just that, but I mean, yeah. So Astrobot won Game of the Year at Game Awards. Who won the Golden Joysticks Game of the Year award? That was Black Myth Wukong.
Yeah.
You know, look at the game. Look at the Game Awards show that happened the week after the Game Awards. Who won that one? Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. So I mean, the Game Awards is probably one of the more prestigious ones in terms of the actual award shows, but it like everybody that was in that conversation for Game of the Year at the Game Awards, it seemed that every one of them, with the exception of Elden Ring's DLC, deservedly so, won Game of the Years, at different award shows. So I mean, like Black Myth Wukong got one, Astrobot got one, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth got one, Metaphor ReFantasio got one. I mean, yeah, the Game of the Year awards were handed out all over the place.
Well, and just with the Game Awards themselves, let's just put it out there, full disclosure. Why do people tune in? No one really cares about the awards so much other than Game of the
For the
Year.
world premieres.
It's the world premieres and the announcements.
Yep.
As far as I'm concerned, they should just do a Winter Games Fest and do away with the awards. I mean, if they're going to keep doing it anyways because people tune in. But
Well, yeah, and I mean they can extend a little bit of time and make a bit more of a show and spectacle about it, I guess.
Mhm.
Entertainment value is pretty much what it is.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, look at all the people that showed up. Harrison Ford, the
Snoop
two
Dogg,
Muppet characters.
Statler and Waldorf.
Yes. I mean, that was
Brianna White.
awesome. Like there's a lot that they like. There's a lot of showmanship there, and
Oh, yeah,
that's what makes
absolutely.
people tune in for. And for a lot of us, it was the game announcements.
Honestly, the Statler and Waldorf was a great touch. Honestly,
yeah,
I
absolutely.
loved that little bit that they added to that.
Absolutely. And I can go off on a whole tangent about one of the awards, but I'll save that for another time because we only have so long.
And there's only so much editing that I'm willing to do on a day off.
Yeah,
so.
exactly.
With that, let's go ahead and jump on over to our next article. So I know a lot of people are going to be paying attention to this, but Grand Theft Auto 6 is projected to make over $3 billion in its first year on sale. So GTA 6, the most anticipated game of the year, as we've already stepped into the new year of 2025, the hopes are really, really high amongst GTA 6 fans. Similarly, the hopes of GTA 6 makers, which is Rockstar Games, they also seem to be high. Recently, a market research group has predicted that the game will break sales records of over $3 billion. According to a report by ESPN, DFC Intelligence, one of the oldest marketing analyst firms that covers the video game industry, believes that the launch of the GTA 6 will sell tens of millions of copies in its first 12 months, reaching over $3 billion in total sales. I'll start this one off here just because this is one I'm kind of paying attention to. I haven't played a Grand Theft Auto since the original 1 and 2. But I've seen enough in the content creation community between 4 and 5 and Vice City and GTA Online that I could very easily see that being a real number. And not even just hitting it, but even smashing it, just because of how much hype that GTA 6 has gotten ever since it was basically announced that that GTA 6 is coming.
No, I completely agree with that because they're also going to have another tactic. PlayStation 6 has released their logo, which means we know that it's in development. Xbox is going to be coming out next year. They're just going to recycle this game for the next 3 generations like they have Grand Theft Auto 5. Let's be honest, they're going to do it.
Yeah. I mean, they'll have a
Well,
Game of the Year edition and an anniversary edition and a
Mhm.
release edition, and they're gonna release it as many times as they did with Skyrim.
This will probably be the first GTA game that I actually really dig deep into that I'm going to probably try. That being said, I guess 5 is on the PlayStation Plus catalog. Red Dead, I retried that last year, fell in love with it. So maybe for me, it's time to revisit GTA 5, see if I can get into it. The issue that I had with that game, though, has always been the driving, which is why I enjoyed Red Dead so much, is because it's basically Grand Theft Auto, just on horseback.
Mhm.
That being said, bringing that game up, give us Red Dead 3.
Oh God.
But no, they're going to hit this expectation, no problem. Am I going to pick it up? Yeah, probably. And I'm I'm sure, like, I know the community is excited for it, and people have been waiting for this game for a very long time, and it's about time that they've released it.
Rob, any thoughts on GTA 6?
Not a series I ever got into, but yeah, I can definitely see it breaking 3 billion, honestly.
All right, so let's go ahead and jump into the next article then. Tango Gameworks, reborn as Tango Gameworks Inc. So Hi-Fi Rush developer Tango Gameworks has officially relaunched as Tango Gameworks Incorporated under the stewardship of new parent company Krafton. We're excited to continue crafting games that bring joy to players around the world, reads a post on X. Thank you for your continued support as we embark on this new journey. It's a moment that marks a fresh start for the studio. Tango was shuttered by former owner Microsoft in May of 2024 amidst layoffs and closures at the Xbox maker, which has also resulted in the demise of Alpha Dog Games and Arcane Austin. I know Monster would love to probably put his 2 cents in on one of his favorite games of Hi-Fi Rush. But yeah, I almost feel a little confused as they're making a news article by basically just adding the word "ink" on the end of it.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking while I was looking at this news story.
I had to read the headline twice too. I'm going, okay, is that really okay? No, okay, they added the word "ink" to it, so I guess technically it is a rebrand. I think it's more of like oh, what's the word I'm looking for? It's almost similar to, like, say for example with let's say with my own personal company. I'm the owner of 639 Studios. Right now it's just a sole proprietorship, but technically speaking, I could rebrand it. When I upgrade it to an LLC type of business. So maybe technically that would be a rebirth. I think so. So Tango Gameworks is kind of more or less doing the same thing here by becoming an incorporation.
Well, I agree and disagree to an extent. But the reason why this is on our podcast at all this week is because the studio was closed and then reopened. And this is them, I think, rebranding to reopen and start
Right.
developing games again. And that's the thing that we need to take away from this. Because again, they were a subject to one of our conversations last year of layoffs, and this game studio was saved by Krafton. And
Mhm.
them rebranding is them saying, hey, we're gearing up and getting ready to start making these games again. I am very happy that they are going forward with this. The name change, it is what it is, but to me, it's just signaling, hey, we're getting ready to go. We're going to start making games for you again, and that's the part that I'm excited about. And I'm happy that these developers are not out of work.
Yeah. Hopefully they pick up some. Maybe if they pick up some of the Fallout employees from Alpha Dog or Arcane too. But I figured maybe the article was just in here for a little Monster Hospital fan service. Love you, buddy.
Maybe a little, but I'm gonna say this: Arcane deserved to be closed after their disastrous release there last year. I can't. The game is escaping my mind. That's that vampire one was not good. And you know what? It's
I can't
not.
think of it either.
Yeah, it's
Red
not even.
something rather.
Yeah, it's not even worth, like, under the circumstances. they deserved to be closed. In my mind, that game performed so bad. It is what it is. That it's done. It's over with. It was Redfall, by the way.
Redfall,
That's it.
that's the one.
Yeah.
Yeah, Rob was on the right track there.
Yeah,
I just
but
couldn't remember the last part of it.
yeah, it was a bad game. You can't release games like that and think that you're going to stay open. Sorry. But
Well, I mean, we
Tango
just saw
released a
one
hit.
recently again, just like that too.
Yeah, Tango
Concord.
released a hit, and they deserve to stay open. It made no sense to close them.
Isn't it nice to have stories like this to start off the year?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's no layoffs, so we've had companies giving out bonus paychecks and PS5 Pros. We've got another game studio that's kind of rebranding, reopening, and revitalizing game development. So yeah, hopefully this is a trend that sticks around throughout the year.
2025, the year of positivity.
Yeah, exactly. One can hope, anyways.
I'm positive there'll be layoffs.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Man, you just
Oh. Sad faces. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into the last article for today's episode. And that is Square Enix producer says it cannot be exclusive to a single platform. While Square Enix was quick to admit that profits for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and Final Fantasy XVI did not meet expectations, Yoshinori Kitase, who is serving as a producer on the series, has a different opinion altogether. While we are satisfied that we're meeting a certain number of sales, with the current modernization state of games, we cannot be exclusive to a single platform. I think we need to be able to offer the game to as many players as we can. In other words, long-term exclusivity will not help with sales. Those sentiments echo exactly what Square has been saying over the past year, including plans to aggressively pursue a multi-platform strategy. Final Fantasy VII is still exclusive for the time being, and to this point there's no information as to when past or future Final Fantasy titles will no longer be exclusive to a single platform. While Rebirth will join Part 1 on PC beginning in mid-January, neither title has made its way to Nintendo or Microsoft systems. It's unclear if Part 3 will be a PC day and date or multi-platform release. So let's start with Irish Bandit Rob, because I know he is a little bit more in tune with the Square Enix and Final Fantasy stuff as for part of our group here. So let's start with your thoughts on this article here, Rob.
How long have we been saying the exact same thing that was said in that article?
Yeah.
That exclusivity is just, it's not a good thing. They might think, yeah, okay, I can get why Square Enix wanted to do the exclusivity with Sony, because Final Fantasy VII, the original, was a PlayStation game before Steam and all that. But
yeah, I really don't count ports.
yeah, no, same. But I mean, the sales for Rebirth haven't been good, despite it being just a phenomenal game. So they need to get this out to as many platforms as possible. They're taking the good first step with it being released on PC in a couple weeks, but now they got to get it out on Nintendo. They need to get it out on Microsoft. If they want to meet those sales figures, get it out to as many hands as possible.
Yeah, I think getting it out on Xbox should be a priority.
Yes,
I don't know
absolutely.
about Nintendo Switch so much. Nintendo Switch seems to kind of have its own a niche of games, basically. Like, you don't really see a lot of the big popular titles that are on PlayStation, Xbox, and PC.
Right.
You don't really see them on the Switch, and the Switch is going to have its own exclusivity. Like, for example, I'll give you a really good example. Later this year, Pokemon Legends ZA comes out. You're not going to see that on PlayStation or Xbox or PC, for that matter. There are certain titles that exist that are always going to be exclusive to the platform no matter what. Usually Halo would be a good example of that, but you can also take a look at things like more current titles like Astro, for example. That one likely doesn't ever see the light of day on Xbox, PC, or Switch. Xbox is going to have, Microsoft is going to have its exclusivity titles with, I can't even think of one off the top of my head. Mav, help me out here. You've got exclusivity more.
Sorry, for which
more
system?
For Xbox, like who
For Xbox?
who does Micro?
Halo and Gears of War are the main ones.
Yeah, Gears of War is the one I was thinking of. Yeah,
Gears of War. Gears of War and Halo are the ones that really jump out in that case.
Yeah.
But I agree with you to an extent. Um, Actually, I agree with you completely when it comes to this. But with Final Fantasy VII, I am not sure that we're going to see that on Xbox at all.
So it could just stay
What
PlayStation
what I
PC.
would like to see happen, and what I'm not expecting at all to happen, but what I would like to see happen, Sony gets an exclusive to Part 3 for 6 months at most.
Yeah. Same
But
what they
when
did with
that
the Rebirth.
Yeah.
right, but as soon as the 6 months is out, rather than waiting, an additional 3 or 4 months, is at the 6 month mark, have it for Xbox. But what I would like to see is them go, okay, we're releasing Part 3, we're releasing Rebirth, and we're releasing Remake onto Xbox as a bundle.
That would
Whether that
make me money.
happens is a completely different story.
Yeah, exactly.
But we do have to take into account that Phil Spencer went out of his way to try to rebuild relations with Square and say, hey, look, guys, we want you guys back on our system. And within a few weeks, Final Fantasy 7 or Final Fantasy 14 was on Xbox, right? There's a lot of moving parts that Square is going to be going back on it. My prediction is that Final Fantasy 7 unfortunately stays an exclusive on PlayStation and PC. It'll all get ported over to PC. I don't see it going on to Xbox. But Final Fantasy 17, 18, 19, all of them, the main titles, get released from this point on Xbox as well. The one release that I'm anticipating that gets done and hits Xbox first, if there's going to be any game that moves over there right now with Square, is Final Fantasy 16.
Yeah.
That's the one that I'm expecting the most to hit Xbox at some point. But if we don't see it by, let's say, June or July, it's not happening.
Right.
And it may be just because Square's just cutting off their losses and moving on. Don't get me wrong, I loved that game. It was fantastic. But they might just be say, you know what, we're going to work on the next title and release it on all systems at this point. But having it on Switch, as great as that would be, it's not going to happen because I think you're going to have the same type of porting issues that we just finished talking about in regards to Series S. The Switch 2, there is a different story.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, because there's gonna be
Good
some
point.
brand new hardware. We've already just seen some brand, some new chips coming out at CES 2025, including, and this was actually a really really big surprise, with the Razer branded laptops, the gaming laptops, the Razer Blade 16, which is now their thinnest gaming laptop. It is literally the height of a USB port from the top of the
Wow.
keyboard to the bottom of the case, and there is a 5090 in that laptop, a desktop grade 5090, the highest possible grade of video chipset you can get from that line in that laptop. So you take a look at the Switch 2 is likely probably going to be around the same size. I don't imagine if it'll be, if we're talking bigger or smaller, we're probably talking within millimeters in terms of size comparisons. If they can cram a 5090 into an 1/8 inch thick chassis, you can bet your bottom dollar they're going to stick something probably not quite as powerful in a Nintendo Switch. I highly doubt they're going to go 5090 in something that of that grade. But you could probably look at something along the lines or an equivalent to what would probably be like a 5070 Ti or a 5080. Could very well appear in the Switch. But circling back to Mav's original point, yeah, where we can start seeing games like Final Fantasy 16, Final Fantasy 7, have the entire Final Fantasy 7 remake trilogy, being able to be played on the Switch 2 when it comes out. It's just a matter of, do they want to actually spend, or does Square Enix want to spend those resources in order to get it out on that particular system when it may not necessarily be as popular there? I think that's kind of the conversation we're having.
Yeah. PC, PlayStation will absolutely get part 3 as well. I just Final Fantasy 7 I think stays on PlayStation day one, and then
Yeah.
the main titles going forward will be on everything. Um, and I do think that they missed an opportunity having 16 on Xbox, to be honest.
Big time.
And I guess having it on multiple platforms, you missed out on that opportunity. Like 16, that just hit PC a little while ago. Is that right?
Yeah,
Mhm.
like within the last month or two.
Yeah. So I mean, they're going to have higher sales because of that, but like I I don't think it's going to make that big of an impact, and I just think that it needs to that their games going forward needs to be on all systems day one. And I unfortunately with Nintendo, I don't know if that's going to happen until the Switch 2 comes out.
Right.
Xbox definitely needs to be part of that conversation more though,
Yeah.
for sure.
The only thing that possibly leads me to believe that Final Fantasy 16 could come out on Xbox sometime this year is the fact that they added Clive to Tekken 8, and Tekken 8 is on Xbox. So, I mean, the character model is there, so there's part of the
Yep.
work done for you already.
Yeah, but again, we also had the conversation about optimization and stuff too, right?
Yeah.
Like, do they want to optimize it for the Series S and the X? Like, there's a lot of questions there. There's a lot of question marks there in that
Mhm.
case.
Yeah.
I don't think we can rule it out, but I don't keep your expectations reasonable is all I'm
Yeah.
trying to say.
Yeah, and I
Because
think that's exactly the point too. Is that a lot of Xbox players can look at that. If they're looking at Tekken 8 and going, "Oh, cool, who's this Clive character? I've heard of him in Final Fantasy. I'd like to know more about him. I'd like to play him. Play him in his original, or his original setting and whatnot. Things like that might spark the conversation, or give a good excuse for Final Fantasy
Mhm.
16 to release on Xbox, because maybe those types of players would want to visit that, but. Again, I think Mav hit the nail on the head. You got to keep your expectations reasonably low in this particular case, because we really have no idea if it's going to come out, and if it is going to come out, the release window for it is getting really really short. And I kind of agree with Mav. We're in his prediction for a release window. If we don't see anything by June or July, chances are we're pretty good. We're not going to see anything at all.
wasn't
For
that a
that.
quote too from Kratos? Keep your expectations low, then you'll never be disappointed.
I mean, I'm pretty sure
That's my personal
that quote
philosophy
has
of life.
been. I'm pretty sure that quote has been used for decades.
Of course.
Beyond that, but I mean, yeah, that's kind of where we're at on that. So, with that, it is time to put the controllers down and power down these systems. So, let's do a little round table here and discuss where we can find each other and what's coming up for us individually here in the new year. Irish Bandit Rob, let's start with you.
Well, I am back to posting Mondays and Fridays over on my YouTube channel. I am going to be going live Saturday and Sunday morning over on Twitch. Don't know what I'm going to be doing yet. I tried playing Marvel Rivals on my Twitch channel the other day, but it just ran like terribly. So I might try to dive into Vampire Survivors. We'll see. But
You're gonna get hooked on that one, I swear.
I think so. I've been playing a little bit offline, and yeah, I think so. What else? As of the 23rd, I'll be on Twitch Thursdays, Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays playing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Got a big stream coming up on the 7th of February that I'm really excited for. More details come about that very soon. And you can also pick up a copy of my novel Shade Falling over on Amazon. You get it through either Kindle e-reader or on paperback.
Excellent. And Agent Maverick 86, where can we find you?
So I am still trying to do more movie and game reviews on my page on Facebook, the new Geek Corner. I have been streaming a little bit more. Right now, I have a stream planned for Friday because I'm off on Friday. Something came up and I got to work Sunday. So with that, I'm off Friday and I have planned Saturday. So Friday, I am going to be back to streaming Near Automata or Automata. Yeah,
Near
Near.
Automata, yeah.
Yeah, Automata. And then, as I said, I'll probably be moving over to Stellar Blade once I wrap up Near. And I will keep you guys posted in regards to what I have in the pipe for that. I know that there's quite a few people that are excited for Witcher 3, so I might be throwing a stream in for that at some point in time. Um, kind of bits and pieces of that story, but I'll keep you guys posted on the new Geek Corner. There's going to be, I kind of lacked a little bit with movie reviews. There's going to be a lot more coming this year as well. There's a lot of big movies that are coming out that I'm going to be reviewing. There's, How to Train Your Dragon live actions coming. There's Lilo and Stitch. I'm really excited for Superman. A couple of different Marvel movies that are going to be coming out here in the next little while. And then, of course, we discussed too that Until Dawn is coming out as well. Until Dawn is actually being slated for April of this year. So lots of movie reviews coming out. And there's going to be lots of games that are going to be coming out that I'm going to be reviewing. And I'm still going to be trying to stream as often as I can on my days off now as well. So Nier this week, and I'll keep you posted with Stellar Blade. And they have the crossover with Nier. So kind of flows nicely into Stellar Blade, I think. So, but yeah, I'll keep you guys posted.
Perfect. And with me, you guys can still find me over on Twitch. I don't really have a set schedule. I am doing it at the very least every Sunday. Hopefully we can try and squeeze in a little bit more, where I am currently playing a game that was gifted to me earlier this year by Agent Maverick 86. I did take my first steps into God of War Ragnarok. So far, I've played through the 2018 version, got the Platinum Trophy on that one, already having fun on God of War Ragnarok, so I'll be streaming that until completion then. From there, I've got a whole bunch of games on the schedule. Just a matter of kind of what's out there. We've got AC Shadows coming up next month. I did also get gifted Visions of Mana and Dragon Age Veilguard over Christmas. I also do YouTube stuff as well. I just did a pre-release preview, of Shadow Veil: Legend of the Five Rings, and kind of gave my thoughts and my history with that particular franchise. So that game's going to be coming up sometime here in Q1. So there's lots of games that I'm going to be covering live on my Twitch channel. There's going to be games that I'm going to be covering. I'm also going to be posting a lot of my Let's Plays and playthroughs over on my YouTube channel as well, so you can subscribe over there. And then lastly, one of the recent developments that I had over this past Christmas was becoming a new affiliate for a gaming peripheral company. So I recently became an affiliate for Red Dragon Gaming Peripherals. Just bought a brand new mouse from them as well. So if you guys want to learn more about that, feel free to hit me up on my socials. All of the information that we talked about here in terms of all of our socials, Mavericks, Rob's, myself, plus you can also check out some of our previous podcast members. All that information is going to be linked in the various link trees down below in the video description. So make sure the guys check us out on all of our platforms down there. So with that being said, it is time to power everything off. First off, I want to say thank you. Happy New Year to everybody. Hope you guys have a great 2025. I know we're all looking forward to what the podcast is going to bring us this year. And yeah, so for Agent Maverick 86, for Irish Bandit Rob, I am Ryder Pride 639, and we'll see you all on the next level. Take care.
Bye, guys.
Later, everyone.